This is the MTPredictor weekly market update for May 18th. All right, so when we left off last week, we were looking for a move higher into that 1900 level in the ES, into options expiration, and you can see, boy, they came a point and a half from hitting 1900 even on the ES. Now the S&P cash did hit 1900, hit 1902, and then that's when we saw the selling come in. The next day, we had a pretty healthy sell-off coming in. You can see we closed the week with the red sellers candle here, telling us that the sellers are overcoming the buyers at the end of the week there. As far as, let's just go down to the daily chart here, and you can see the resistance that we ran into. Right, here is the last swing high here. We ran into this decision point resistance. Now there's the next level here is just above 1900, and then since we put a new swing high in last week, these levels just overlap. So beginning about 1903, 1904 will be the next major resistance level there, and then support. We haven't reached the support level yet in the daily chart, down here around 1850. That goes down to about 1843. So 1843 to 1850 should be some major support. If we do get down there, watch the volume. Again, if we get a high volume spike that comes in, you can see we did have high volume on the this black candle coming down. Now we weren't breaking any prior swings, but they were unable to make a new low on Friday and close with a blue buyer's candle. So we'll see if they break the high of this candle here from Friday's. It would be Friday's high. I think that was 1875.75. Then this may get some more fall through, and maybe we make another run at 1900 in the futures. If not, if this level gives way, then we're looking at that 1850 support. Now if that gives way, then we've got some room to move to the downside here, because if we take a decision point off of the last swing there, that puts us down around 1790, 1791, 92 level. Again, if we go back to the weekly chart, remember we are wave 5 up. So again, we've hit minimum, and we came pretty close to getting into the typical. We just have to breach 1900. That'll put us in the typical wave 5. But we're in wave 5. That's the point. And the tendency is, after 5 waves up, you get a correction back to this wave 4 decision point level. So if the initial, this is our first level of support on the daily, around that 1850 level, that gives, then the next daily support is around that 1790, the 1792 level. If that gives way, then we're going to have that full wave 4 correction, or that full correction back to the wave 4 decision point right around 1710 to 1713 level. And again, to the upside, 1900 to 1902, 1903 level is what we'd be looking for on the upside initially anyway. Let's check silver here. Now silver had a daily wave 5 pattern down here, and so the tendency is you get a correction again back to the wave 4 DP. I think I've already got that on here. Alright, and this, as we got into wave 5 here, you see the high volume spike here. Now they did make a new low, alright, but we had some high volume coming in. We were unable to take out the high here. Alright, things rolled over, but we're still in wave 5, so I'm going to kind of include this high volume in the wave 5 area. So we'll see if that was the volume that is going to make this turn a significant one, or more significant one. It's I think a little hard to read when we look at the weekly pattern. We're looking for maybe something a little different, but we'll see. how this plays out. Here's the target there around 2050, 2060. If you're long this off the daily chart. Again, if this holds as resistance, if we do reach this level, then this little trend which was down prior should continue down. But if they take it out to the upside, then you're looking at this decision point up here around 2250, 2260. All right, but let's look at the weekly chart here. We had some sell-off here Thursday and Friday. And let's just open up this up a little bit. So this wave 4, again, we've been looking at this for weeks and weeks and weeks, and looking for our wave 5 down here. Let's project wave 5 down. Okay, here's our level. So again, it's around 1750, 1760 level is your minimum wave 5. Typical wave 5 is all the way down around 1450 or so. But this, if we look at the risk reward here, it's about twice the initial risk based on these offset parameters here. But if we go back again, remember this was our high back here. That was that 5 wave pattern. Again, a correction should be back to this wave 4 DP. And this is a really major make or break level for silver. So far, I mean, it's holding up. But if it does give way, if this level gives way, then you know, that would not be a good thing, because then they would be looking at potentially retracing this whole 5 wave pattern up. But if it does hold as support in this area, again, we're just kind of consolidating around here. Maybe it's the start of a new bull market. Not quite convinced yet. You know, I want to see. You know, again, we got some volume coming in, but which is what we were looking for, to see if they're going to put a bottom in. But they were able to make a new low off of that, and so this target is still out there. I'm still looking to see if we can get down around that 1750, 1760 level there. If not, to get back above $20, then probably the daily pattern, that 5 waves down on the daily chart, looking for a rally into wave 4. The wave 4 DP will probably play out, and maybe the bottom is already in. All right, so we'll see. Anyway, stops if you're short or at break even, you can't lose on the trade there, and we'll see how this plays out again week after week after week. Let's look at bonds here, because bonds have been rallying. We know that. We had just a standard trade set up to the long side, hit the target here into the weekly resistance. So if we go to the weekly chart, on the weekly chart, you see we had a 5 wave pattern down here in bonds, which we anticipate again should correct back to the wave 4 DP, and it did. So it's completed that. Now we want to see, typically this is a level where you would see some selling coming in, but if this level gives way to the upside, then it's saying they may wipe the whole 5 wave pattern out to the downside here, and we'll put our next target on. But I'd anticipate we get some selling, and if we go back to the daily chart, you'll see we did have, as we get into the target here, we closed the Friday out with sellers overcoming buyers. All right. So if you're looking to sell this, we can take a decision point off of here, and we look at this as a potential target. So in the weekly resistance, we anticipate some type of corrective move here. If they take that level out to the upside, then we have our weekly targets in place there. Just an update on the Australian dollar, US dollar. Okay, so this had this nice 5-wave pattern down here into the major support, rallied again to the wave 4 DP, which is what we anticipate in a minimum, a rally back to this level. But then if they take it out to the upside, which they have, then again we go back to the top of wave 1, take our decision point. That gives us our next level here. Now a pattern is formed here. We looked at this before, a wave 4, and we can project up wave 5 here. So if we do go wave 5 up here, or you are long this, then you have to anticipate that the market, if we do go wave 5 up, is going to correct. So here's the minimum target here. There's the blue buyer's candle in the wave 4. Right, so about 2.3 R profit if it can reach the target there. It's already achieved the 100% initial risk line, so stops can be moved to break even there. But if it does go minimum, typical wave 5, then we would anticipate a correction back to this wave 4 DP level. Euro dollar, US dollar. This is the weekly chart. You know, on the weekly chart, remember we had our 5-wave pattern down here. You see these just keep repeating. Your correction back to the wave 4 DP. Right, there was a correction here, but the trend got going back to the upside to retest the level here, and it's kind of struggling in this area. Just as when we looked at the US dollar, you know, the dollar is butting its head up, or was butting its head up against that resistance. It's tested that resistance level several times and hasn't been able to get through it. You know, the euro here has its own resistance that is kind of struggling in. If we go down to the daily chart, here's the resistance that we're looking at from the daily chart, and that's just this decision point off of the last swing high. Oops, maybe it's this one. That one's still a little further up. No, it looks like we're kind of in between levels. I don't know where this came from. Maybe this was the weekly. Oh, the 4-hour. Okay. From the 240-minute chart. So we had some levels of resistance that came in and on the turn here. And here's the support level. I guess this is the 4-hour support level. Let's just look at, you've got over, here's the daily support there. So some more overlapping levels if we get down there. Some high activity that came in on Thursday, and they weren't able to make a new low on Friday here. So we'll see if they fall through to the upside here. Again, in a range here. But it might be useful if we're coming down into support or resistance to kind of guide your trading. And then let's just look at the dollar here. Oh, there it is. So here's this rally in the dollar that we were looking at. In fact, I'll go to the weekly chart first. Here was the major low in the dollar where the decision point buy signal was, and then we just ran into a brick wall here. But this little level here, you can see why I was anticipating that the dollar would rally off of this level. Was on high volume, telling us that professionals were stepping in and buying here. And here's the next weekly resistance. Let's go down now to the daily chart and just see what it looks like. You get a little better picture. So here's that high volume on the turn here. All right, now it reached daily resistance, decision point resistance here, and that's why you saw you had some profit taking. But we'll see if they make a run here, get a close above this level, then they may run for the weekly target there. All right. If it does that, then maybe we see the euro fall into that support. So the euro is coming into some support as of the end of last week, the dollar hitting some resistance. All right, as for this week, we do have a full week of economic data. Watch on Wednesday, as we've got Janet Yellen will be speaking 11:30 Eastern, and then the FOMC minutes, not the interest rate announcement, just the FOMC minutes will be out 2 o'clock Eastern time on Wednesday, and then the jobless numbers and home sales on Thursday, and new home sales or existing home sales on Thursday, and new home sales on Friday. So those will be big reports to watch for. All right, hope that helps. Have a great rest of your trading week, and we'll see you back next week.